Hello! This has become one of my absolute favorite videos to make every single year. Recently, the bookstore chain Waterstones announced their Book of the Year shortlist. Although it's not such a shortlist, there are 15 titles on this list. They pick a whole group of books in a range of genres and categories to pit against each other before selecting one as their Book of the Year, which I think is going to be announced in a month or so. And rather than me just sitting here in my library at home, I'm going to take you on a journey through autumnal London to the Waterstones flagship store in Piccadilly Circus so that I can have a browse through the books myself while talking about them and describing them. I think I've read 4 of these books in total out of the 15, and I have no illusions that these were selected just by booksellers. It seems more a carefully calibrated grouping put together by marketers, to hit a whole range of interests and age groups. But it gives me a fun excuse to take a journey through the city. And there are some really beautiful autumnal colors out now. I want to also have a walk through my local park to show you that, and go to my local library, which is also a beautiful old brick building. And they've recently put in a cafe there, which I've not seen yet. So I want to go see that while picking up some books by Muriel Spark, which we're reading a biography of Muriel Spark with my online book club. So I want to read some of her fiction around that. But yeah, I think this will be a really fun journey. And then I'm going to a couple of events after going to the bookshop and seeing these. But I want to give a little bit of a spoiler before I head out, because one of the books on the list, so excitingly, is my good friend Anna James's book, Alice with a Y, which I read really recently. This is a book for young adults. It kind of carries on the tale of Lewis Carroll's book by following Alice's granddaughter, who her name is spelt Alice with a Y, which is why the title is called this, but it's also a play on words. There's lots of playful language in this story. It's just such a wonderful, wonderful book. Like, honestly, I'm not saying that just because she's my friend, but I really enjoyed the journey of this book. It's really magical and warm-hearted and wise. It has a special message to the story, as well as being a really engaging journey back into Wonderland and meeting some familiar characters while also meeting some new characters. One of her closest friends that she meets there is a fox. I'm especially keen on foxes. I love seeing them out in London. And so I was so happy to see this on the list. And earlier this year, they had this beautiful display about this book in the shop window at Waterstones, which I went to see, and I picked up their special edition of the book there, which has these wonderful end papers. So yeah, I'm just so excited for my friend Anna, who you may know if you've been watching my channel for any length of time, because for many years, Anna and I have made videos about the Women's Prize seasons. So yeah, I'm so happy for her. This has been nominated for multiple awards, and I just read it recently, and it's such an excellent book that I would recommend both for children and adults. But now I'm going to head out on my journey, show you some of the sights of London and the changing colors. The sky is quite murky. There's clouds. I'm hoping the rain will hold off, but yeah, I'll show you what I can of the city before going through all of the books at the actual bookshop and treating it kind of like a scavenger hunt to see if I can track down all of the books within the bookshop itself. I've made it here to Waterstones Piccadilly, which you can see behind me. And it's funny, at this time of year, I always forget how quickly it gets dark. It felt like the night descended very, very swiftly. But I'm going to go have a look in the bookshop now. It's a bookshop over multiple floors to see if I can find all of the books on the shortlist. This Waterstones is such a giant shop. I can get lost for hours wandering around the shelves of new releases, classics, and many different sections. When I first moved to London, I spent so much time here and went to many author events. I like that there are many tables focusing on different themes or subjects, plus there are some really fun displays. I enjoy coming across personal favorites on the shelves, especially when I've read them in hardback, and now I'm seeing the paperback version for the first time. And, of course, since we've tipped into November, Christmas is everywhere. And I found many displays devoted to the shortlisted titles. I really enjoyed The Artist by Lucy Steeds, and this special edition has beautiful inside covers. The story is set during a hot summer in the 1920s in the French countryside. An ambitious journalist goes to meet a reclusive famous artist to try to land an interview. He's turned into a subject for the artist's next painting and gets drawn into the claustrophobic household of the artist and his assistant. It's a very atmospheric and moody story that includes a great cameo from Peggy Guggenheim. This book also won the Waterstones Debut Fiction Prize and was listed for the Women's Prize earlier this year. Universality by Natasha Brown also involves an ambitious journalist writing a story about a strange attack which occurs on a Yorkshire commune where a man is hit over the head with a bar of gold. Events are shown from a number of different perspectives to reveal the underlying bias in these accounts motivated by ambition, power, and clickbait culture, rather than the truth or the public interest. It's an important topic, but this is a novel that I unfortunately struggled with and didn't find entirely satisfying. This was also listed for the Booker Prize this year. It's really exciting to see a republication of this novel from 1980 on the list, because I read this many years ago and remember finding it very engaging. It's a short novel about the guilt the narrator still feels over dramatic events which occurred in his hometown in the past involving a local murder and suicide. It's a very moving and well-crafted story. William Maxwell was a well-respected editor and author of the mid-20th century who is credited with influencing modern authors such as Justin Torres. Mother Mary Comes to Me is the first memoir by former Booker Prize winner Arundhati Roy, which traces her complex relationship with her mother. It traces Arundhati's development as a writer and how her mother Mary influenced her work, and the deep grief that Arundhati experienced after the death of her mother in 2022. I've always admired how politically engaged and heartfelt Arundhati's writing is, and I'm keen to read this as it sounds like an emotional journey. Anna's novel follows the granddaughter of Lewis Carroll's Alice as she embarks on a new adventure in Wonderland. This novel is such a warm-hearted delight that has all the creativity, wordplay, and wonder of the original book while also expanding Carroll's universe. There are wonderful illustrations by Matthew Land throughout. It also has such a meaningful message about a child's experience of war, both in reality and in this fantasy world where the Moon Queen and the Sun King battle for an hour of the day. So it feels appropriate that I'm discussing this as the daylight ended very abruptly on my journey to this bookshop. I loved reading this story. I read the Hunger Games trilogy around 12 years ago, and I found them so Gripping and thoughtful, Sunrise on the Reaping is set 24 years before the first novel in the series and follows the conflicted character of Haymitch as he participates in the reigning government's 50th staged battle to the death. It further explores the workings of totalitarianism and propaganda, so I'd be keen to read this new novel, although I've still not read Colin's other prequel yet. This novel takes a creative new approach to mystery and horror. Alongside the text of the story, there are a number of seemingly innocent drawings which contain hidden clues and warnings regarding sinister occurrences and unsolved mysteries. The reader must piece together what is going on, and I've heard that it comes together and concludes in a thrilling and surprising way. So I've been very keen to read this. The author is an anonymous YouTuber, which is why his picture just shows him wearing a creepy mask. The latest book from mega successful author F Kuang is a fantasy that follows two magicians that are doctoral candidates who must venture into hell to save their thesis advisor in order to get letters of recommendation. The premise is quite creative and playful, but it explores how academia truly does have a dark side to it. I mostly enjoyed the author's previous novel, Babel, but the fantasy quest side of the story came to feel tedious to me, so I haven't felt compelled to read more by her. The Raven Scholar is another epic fantasy novel that also involves a scholar. I do love it when a book has a map on the inside cover. In this story, the Emperor's brilliant advisor investigates a murder and uncovers deadly secrets in an empire where multiple powerful individuals compete to rule. There is magic, intrigue, and lots of twists and turns. This is the first in a new fantasy series, and I know many readers are loving it, but I don't think it's for me, so I'll be leaving it aside. I'm a massive fan of David Attenborough's nature documentaries, and in this book, he and Colin Butfield share personal stories, history, and cutting-edge science regarding the ocean and its fragility in an era of rapid climate change. There are also lovely illustrations throughout. I think this would be an excellent book to treasure and frequently browse through. I recently got very bothered by a comment someone left on my videos, so I could probably use the advice in this nonfiction title, which promotes a mindset for focusing on what you can control in your life and what you can't. By saying to yourself, let them, it's easier to detach yourself from other people's unpredictable actions. And by saying, let me, it's a way of taking back that control. I've never been that keen on self-help type books, but this sounds like it offers an interesting perspective and method to stop wasting so much energy on other people's unhelpful nonsense. Craftland is a loving account of many lost crafts and professions which have become obsolete in the modern world, except for those few who still practiced old ways of coopering, basket weaving, metalwork, and blacksmithing. There are illustrations throughout which bring these different crafts to life. The book delves into the history of these practices and the author's own journey through this cultural heritage and the few people who still practice these trades. I'm sure it's an interesting book, but one that I'm personally not that keen on. Padella is a London restaurant which began in 2016 and has become famous for offering innovative Italian food. The head chef of this establishment has collected many recipes in this book. Just browsing through this, I see so many mouth-watering recipes, but like many, I have such a big collection of cookbooks, and usually I only regularly make one or two recipes from each. So while I love looking through this book, I doubt it'd be one I'd use much in my daily cooking. Mikey Please is an award-winning animation director, and this is his first picture book for children. The story follows an aspiring chef who opens a cafe beside an enchanted forest and discovers locals who demand strange dishes. With cuisine such as pickled bats that smell like farts, I'm sure this story will give young people lots to laugh over while learning something about friendship and teamwork. As you'd expect, there are also lots of lovely and evocative illustrations. Donut Squad is a story for kids who love donuts and adventure. When they aren't being eaten, donuts have big plans for world domination, but they come up against their nemesis, the bagels. This is a silly and colorful story. The leader of the donuts is called Sprinkles, and my little niece likes to play a game where she's a dog named Sprinkles, so maybe I'll get this for her. After looking through all these books in Waterstones, I headed over to a special screening of a new TV adaptation of Louise Kennedy's great novel, and this stars Gillian Anderson, Tom Cullen, and Lola Pettigrew. It was great seeing these actors in person before heading back home on the bus. And I am back home, although it's the next morning because I stayed out late watching the screening of the first episode of the miniseries adaptation of Trespasses. And there were a few elements in the story which I'd forgotten until watching this new series, because I first read this book a few years ago. It is such an excellent novel, and I'm really enjoying the performances and the whole visual aspect of bringing this tragic love story to life. So I'm definitely looking forward to watching the rest of the series when it is aired. And I also had a successful trip to the library where I picked up a few copies of Muriel Spark books. She always wrote quite slender novels, so I'm looking forward to diving into these. And it was really fun going around the bookshop looking at all of these books in person. I mean, several of the books probably aren't for me so much, although I would be interested in reading more of them. Definitely Arundhati Roy's memoir. I want to get to this at some point, and probably the book that I'm rooting for most to win. You could probably guess. I'm a bit biased about it, but I would love to see Anna James' book win the Book of the Year for Waterstones. And it's also up for Foyle's Book of the Year and Blackwell's Book of the Year. So yeah, hopefully it'll win at least one of these bookshop competitions that they run for their Book of the Year. But I would love to hear in the comments below what you think about the selection that Waterstones has put forward for this. Have you read any of these books? Are you eager to read any of these books? Or are you keen on getting any of these books as possible Christmas presents for people? I mean, I think the donut book would be a great gift for my nephew-in-law. He's kind of at the right age for it, and I think, yeah, would really enjoy that. And yeah, I would like the David Attenborough book for myself. But yeah, I'd love to hear below what you think of these books. If you enjoyed this little ramble through autumnal London, but I hope you're doing well and reading good things, and I will speak to you again soon. Bye-bye.